Alright guys, such Kremp again today. I hope you're doing good and enjoying your day so far. Big roster developments last night, and all signs indicate that OpTic should be pretty happy about the way that things are going. Back-to-back champions to the World Championship and then the World Cup just a few weeks after that. And according to various rumours, the teams that FaZe and Thieves and others are trying to build to take down OpTic this upcoming season are not exactly as strong as even they were last year. Are Thieves downgrading? Are FaZe seriously downgrading with all of their players on the market? What are the other teams trying to put together to take down OpTic for the new season? Because some are suggesting they could well go back to back with the teams that are being formed behind the scenes. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd really appreciate it. Plenty to get into. Wanted to start here because we don't know what's going on the HyDra side, but there are some notable free agents coming over from HyDra. OpTic legend, I think Hex even said that, yeah, he is serious about making a move to Black Ops 7. He tweeted about it a little while ago. Formal has said, well, we'll see what happens, right? And again, like last year when there were rumours about Formal coming back to COD, by the time those decisions were makeable, it was kind of too late, right? I think HyDra Champs is in like October, so by the time that HyDra Champs is over, then, you know, pretty much Formal, the teams are set, right? That's how it could be. So if players want to come from HyDra to COD, they need to, and they have been, making their indications known today so that maybe they can get a chance to get picked up. Someone as talented as Legends, there is an opportunity there, and if Formal is committed to it, obviously he's gonna, you know, be one of the notable free agents as well. But OpTic were playing this the HCS Salt Lake City Major just to see how all the respective teams are getting on. And it's just even more interesting now to keep an eye on this tournament because there are going to be some notable players here that try and make the transition to COD. Even OpTic Legend in their game was spotted wearing one of those old like Huntsman variant jerseys, which I thought was pretty cool. Kind of a bit of a throwback to the 2020 season when Chicago Huntsman was a thing. Before we get to Rostermania, there was a funny response here. You guys probably saw the clip where Kenny was, well, BenJ called out Kenny and said that he was a moron for looking to team with Drazah again. And Kenny called him restarted, and you know, it was all kind of funny. Now yesterday, Neptune, we actually saw the clip of Neptune talking about the all-star teams and that type of stuff, and BenJ was watching this, and it was kind of mind-blowing that the guys in the lobby weren't shooting back. Now, to be fair, they didn't have names that would typically be bot names, but it was pretty obvious it was a bot lobby. I mean, he literally had 140 kills, so it's pretty clear what's going on here. BenJ didn't realise it. He thought like, damn, these kids aren't shooting back, and obviously people are going to clown BenJ for it, right? Because they're like, damn, well, this guy, here he goes again, pretends he's got COD knowledge and can't even figure out a bot lobby, and then Kenny just drops the checkmate in the replies, which I thought was absolutely comedy, given what had happened the day before. I will say, people have their opinions on Ben, whether they like him, whether they don't like him. He's a polarizing community. My opinion is, the scene would be far less entertaining without BenJ. So, like, I'm down for him too. Like, I don't know. I like Ben. I think he's great. But also, if he wasn't around the scene, then it would just be a less interesting scene, to be honest. Like, whatever you guys think about him, top to bottom, in my opinion. Let's talk about some of the free agents. These are a lot of names, right, as you guys can tell, and all of these players are at least, well, potentially restricted, potentially unrestricted. You guys can actually see that by the red line as it indicates for a restricted free agent. So aBeZy, restricted, DiamondCon, restricted, Mumba and Bracket seems restricted. Brack's an interesting one, just because there has been talk about Boston, so Boston have let Awakening go, but Cammy, at least for now, I don't think Cammy said anything on it, and I don't expect the Purge and Snoopy will say anything either. They could get poached, possibly, but it feels like Boston are looking to say, okay, Purge, Snoopy, and Cammy stay together as a trio, move on from Big Wake. That makes sense. I always felt culturally as well, you know, Cammy, Purge, and Snoopy were pretty close. Maybe Awakening, just from the quartet perspective, wasn't quite as, you know, close to those guys as the others were. From like a team chemistry perspective, I always felt like if there was one of the ARs to go, it would be Wake. Although they were maybe equally underwhelming this year, to be honest, Cammy and Big Wake. But there's obviously been thoughts as to, okay, who are they going to get, right? Like, Boston need an AR. Do they get Cellium? I mean, yeah, good luck with that. So, but who do they get? What are their options? What does Doug Santa Martin have to say? You know, there are some conversations that will be had there. So, just to keep an eye on, you know, names like Brack and stuff, but obviously being restricted makes it more challenging. We've got the big name free agent, aBeZy. He's restricted, but he's gettable. Cell, Drazah, the entire Surge team, Abuzah, Nastie, Neptune 04, a couple of the guys on on Heretics. We don't know exactly what's going on with Rencor and Super, but they were doing some tweets implying something was happening. Metals Real, TJ's Gettable, Geo Kenny, Nero, Gwinn, Kremp, Beans, Kismet, Johnny. I mean, like, all of those guys were in the league. Then you get to some of the Challengers players, Craze, Mumba, Lunarz, Diamond Con, Mac and Vivid, of course, were with Craze and Mumba back at the World Cup at the OMIT team. And we'll actually see in a second when Zuma said there is apparently interest in an organisation picking up that entire quartet. That would be really interesting. Then players that were in the league this season and didn't end the year in the league, Skies, Lins, Priester, FeLo, etc. And then a number of very notable Challengers players. We know that iLLey's looking to make a return. We know that Temp's looking to make a return. You know, there's numerous players here to look at, and obviously they put Formal on the list as well. And this is not even considering some of the Halo players, in addition to Formal, that might look to come back as well. So there are tons of free agents and tons of big name free agents at that. Hicksy didn't make the cut, and he said, damn, am I really that bad? So that was kind of unfortunate for him, I guess, but at least he got a decent 300,000 view tweet as a result of it, so keep Hicksy in the conversation. And Turtle also put out his own latest free agents list, which kind of shows what we currently understand. So let me put this up on the big screen. Purge, Snoopy, Cammy, that is Boston, we think. Cloud9 says Sib and Spart. I will say Spart made an interesting comment. In the second when Attach is going to tell Sib, we'll see the clip, that, hey, there might be a team interested in picking up the entire OMIT roster. Sib says, huh, maybe Cloud9. I'm like, you're not on Cloud9? So, like, surely that doesn't make sense, but maybe not, right? Things could change. Obviously, we know that Cloud9 are probably going to do a substantial rebuild. Falcons have Pred and Exnid. Arcetes has not been released yet, but realistically, his spot is under question. Of course, Ravens, who knows what's going to happen there top to bottom. OpTic are going to be sticking it out, and everyone else is going to be making a change, we believe. There are rumours that the team wanted to keep Ghosty over at Thieves, but management made the call that Ghosty would go, and they want to get somebody else in instead. The biggest rumour was Abuzah. Like, in my head, I don't see that as a clear upgrade by any means. I think, you know, if Thieves want to upgrade, the only real upgrade is probably Drazah, to be honest. Maybe you could say Cellium as well if it could work. I'm not so sure. But like Scrap and Draz, I don't know, man. So it's difficult, isn't it, to imagine looking at these teams. What team is going to get better? I think Ultra have a good opportunity to do something pretty special if they make the right decisions this offseason. Of course, you can never count the Falcons out either. FaZe is just Simp looking for 3. So it's all to play for right now. And, okay, aBeZy restricted. Formal is just a bit of a question mark. Tons of confirmed free agents. Tons of previous pros. And then a few Challengers players as well. And then throw in some of the Halo guys as well. Because someone as talented as Legends, there will be organizations in the league that consider giving him an offer. Nastie then says, well, he does a couple of tweets, and Ghosty's in the replies. So we know that these guys teamed together before on Thieves. They had good success there at the end of the Modern Warfare 3 season. I mean, look, they made the finals at the World Cup last time out. Then the team blew it up, but Nastie went on to do great things this year. So did JoeDeceives, and in some sense, so did Kremp, right? So like that quartet did pretty well. I wouldn't be surprised if there is consideration to put at least a couple of those guys back together again somewhere. And Ghosty, well, look, I'm not going to try and read into the tweets too much, but just something to keep in mind. If a team needs like a couple of ARs in there, maybe Nastie and Ghosty could throw themselves into the conversation. Now, a couple of clips I wanted to share before we get to what people are saying about what these rosters are going to be. Zuma's talking about the teams trying to put together a puzzle, but struggling to come up with the answers to complete the puzzle. Zuma thought he was some sort of savant coming up with this assessment, but he's probably not wrong based on what we currently understand. And then that clip from Attach's stream, Sib talking about what's going on with him, but also with this OMIT roster potentially fully getting picked up.
I don't understand what's wrong. I heard there was a team, though, that wanted to pick up OMIT.
OMIT? Probably like, what, Carolina or some shit? Or JoeDeceives. JoeDeceives could pick them up too.
Shit, I heard a team wants to keep them together, but I don't know.
Bro, even Cloud9 could probably pick them up.
Yeah.
Merc was like the missing piece of a puzzle. That's what Merc was. Merc was the missing piece to a puzzle, right? Like he did, and that's how all these teams are. All these teams, chat, are a puzzle, and a lot of them just can't figure out how to complete it. That's all it is. It's a puzzle, and they can't figure out how to complete it. I mean, that's what it is. That's what Call of Duty is. Man, that was kind of, Yo, that was kind of crazy. Yo, somebody might need to fucking quote that and put it on a graphic. You know what I mean? Like, somebody might need to quote that shit. I mean, that was poetic. Because that's facts. Yo, that is literally facts. Every team is a puzzle, but a lot of them just don't know how to complete it. I mean, that's a phenomenal fun. I mean, I just came up with that. Yeah, let me take another rip. I'm gonna need to write a book. Chad, if I wrote a book, would you guys buy it? Be honest. Hey,
I gotta go. I'm gonna go jump off a bridge.
All right,
Enjoy
Craddock.
yourself.
Take it easy, Craddock. Hey. In GTA. Chaddy's talking about in GTA. Chaddy's talking about a GTA, bro.
This, though, the other big clip from Crowder, right? Where he says, damn, we're going to go jump over a bridge in GTA because, presumably, the team isn't looking especially good as it stands. Now, just quickly, who do you think is interested in picking up the full Omit team as a quartet? It would be really interesting to see. I think, historically, the team I would have said, with Vios at the helm, would have been Gentlemates. Okay, Los Angeles Gorillas, right? Like, before, that's kind of what they would have kind of done, and it makes sense. But as Gentlemates, I don't really see it. I think Gentlemates with Gataga, they're going to want more talent. You know, they were close to getting Scrap and HyDra this year, and they didn't. So surely Gataga has got, you know, bigger ambitions than to sign just a four-man challengers team. There's a couple of other orgs. I mean, Ravens maybe, but are they even going to be here next year? I don't know. I think it's something that Rocker might consider. At the end of the day, Omit did, look, they didn't make any waves in the bracket, but they did knock FaZe out of the tournament. And yeah, it was a compromised FaZe, but it was still beating FaZe nonetheless. And yeah, Matt Cray's Vivid Mamba, if they want to, you know, play together again, pick them fully up to a pro team. It'd be an exciting project. What organization might do that, though? Definitely tweet your thoughts on that in the comments. But this was the big tweet, really, last night from JoeDeceives. OpTic might actually just do a three-peat the way this Rostermania is shaken up. So OpTic won the World Championship in 2024. They won the World Championship in 2025. Yes, different teams, and they're obviously, after winning the World Cup, going to stick out their roster together going into the upcoming season. Look, is it possible that they win it again? We know that there's curses of teams that win the World Championships not delivering again and all these other things. But typically what happens is a team wins champs, every other team blows it up to try and beat that said team. And to be fair, that is pretty much what we are seeing, but maybe we're not seeing the teams put together the quality of rosters that we thought could have been possible, right? So, look, there are obviously some teams that are going to be considered to be more competitive in theory than others. Those potential contenders, I guess you could start with the Falcons and you could say, okay, they've got Pred. Are they going to keep Exnid? That's a question. Could they get Sib? Could they get aBeZy? You know, do they have the money to make those things happen? Sure. But the real big candidates should be Thieves and FaZe, the other teams that won 2 events this season. Thieves, they're looking to get rid of Ghosty and bring in somebody else. That may be a decent decision on a couple of levels, but I think there's only a couple of players you could get that would actually help that team improve or get better. Like, maybe they just need to turn a page in the chapter or whatever, and therefore, like, anything is going to help them out just to move across from what they suffered at the end of the season, given the talent that they've still clearly got. But, you know, many people would look at that Thieves team and say either they're making the wrong change or they're not making it for good reasons. And then FaZe, the other team on paper, I mean, who are they going to get? I don't know. In my head, if Ghosty leaves Thieves, I think FaZe should go and get him. It just makes sense, surely. We know that FaZe have struggled for years with good communication. Ghosty would be a good asset there. And then, you know, who do you build from there onwards, right? Who do you put alongside Simp as the new aBeZy of the team? Kind of difficult to say where you even look to go. So, you know, maybe you can get CleanX or something, right? Maybe that's not impossible. So, but then Toronto, what are they going to do if those guys are gone and available? So, there's so many different ways that this should shake out. But JoeDeceives and some of the rumors that are going around is that maybe these teams aren't putting together the pieces in the ways that they should. You know that OpTic has like a really impressive team at the levels they got to where yeah, unlike anything really that any other team was doing at the end of the season at least. So last year, in order to take down OpTic's champions in 2024, we saw Thieves form what was, you know, a god squad on paper, right? Super team. And it worked. They won a couple of events, but now they didn't. So where do they go from here? And can any other team like Surge or Heretics or even somebody else put together a roster which is going to be capable too? Right now, many are saying that based on the rumors, I mean, like, I don't know if Rebellions here actually has any intel, but he says, I just got the FaZe intel. And yeah, OpTic are going back to back to back. So we'll see about that one. Very much interested to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.